Sunday night, a crew member of Bubba Wallace's team, who is the only African American driver currently in NASCAR, found a noose hanging in their garage. Reported it to NASCAR. NASCAR put out a very bold statement, or a very strong statement, I should say, on Monday morning, denouncing this act and vowing to find the person or persons who committed it. They got the FBI involved. The FBI did a quick investigation, and just about 24 hours later, or 48 hours later, on Tuesday night, it was released that the FBI found out that this noose was not placed there as a hate crime. It was not placed there purposely for Bubba Wallace to see. It was actually there since October of 2019, and thus the FBI deemed it not a hate crime, and they, for them, closed the case. Now, NASCAR is still investigating. We'll see what happens with their investigation, but in terms of the FBI, they did not deem this a hate crime, which, again, is good. Obviously, that's, first and foremost, very positive. And the reaction that came out on Monday, from when the news first leaked Sunday night that a noose was found in Bubba Wallace's garage, the race on Monday, you saw the great rally, the great support, where every driver, every crew member, every member of the NASCAR community was on the track before the race on Monday. They all walked and pushed Bubba Wallace's car to the front in a show of solidarity. Hey, we support this guy. He's one of ours. Doesn't matter, if you're if you don't like him, if you don't like what he stands for. NASCAR as a sport support Bubba Wallace and what he believes in, and are trying to implement and push for change. And so one of those changes that NASCAR implemented a few weeks ago, banning the Confederate flag from any and all races, so that way no fan can bring it onto the property. Obviously, that had some pushback, but NASCAR is changing and trying to change and do their part for social awareness, to bring awareness to Black Lives Matter, and again, support their guy in Bubba Wallace. And for me, after hearing that the FBI announced it was a hate crime, I'll be completely honest. Now, again, I'm not. It is very, very good. But I can't lie. I had more questions. I still had more questions than I had answers. And I didn't feel like this is just a closed case. This is one of the things where, okay, cool, we can move on now. Thank God this wasn't the case. Somehow misunderstanding, we'll move on. So I'll be honest, I still have reading everything, reading the sequence of events, reading and hearing and listening to what Bubba Wallace has said on whether it's CNN, whether it's on ESPN with First Take. He's done a bunch of interviews since the FBI came out and announced that it was not a hate crime. And I can't lie. I still have more questions than I have answers. One of those questions is, why is there so much backlash toward Bubba Wallace himself? Because this is what I don't get. Because I saw, especially on Tuesday night, a lot of people on social media celebrating the fact, dancing for the fact that this was not a hate crime, and celebrating the fact and kind of painting Bubba Wallace as creating this hoax, doing this himself as a setup. And I don't understand, why is there so much backlash towards him? Now, the turn of events are this. How it happened is, one crew member noticed the noose in the garage. Before telling Bubba Wallace wasn't even allowed in the garage. They reported to NASCAR, then took it to NASCAR President Steve Phelps, who then alerted Wallace to what they found. Now, let's not forget, I think NASCAR was the ones who really took this seriously, in a good way, obviously, but their statement they put out Monday morning really left no room for doubt, really left no room for interpretation of what this crime committed, what the goal was. So I just want to read you, in case you forget it or didn't see it. This was NASCAR's statement Monday morning after they were alerted to a noose being in Bubba Wallace's garage. This is what they said. Late Sunday afternoon, NASCAR was made aware that a noose was found in the garage stall of the 43 team, which is Bubba Wallace. We are angry and outraged and cannot state strong enough how seriously we take this heinous act. We have launched an immediate investigation and will do everything we can to identify the person or persons responsible and eliminate them from the sport. As you have stated unequivocally, there is no place for racism in NASCAR, and this act only strengthens our resolve to make the sport open and welcoming to all, end quote. So you read the statement, and you think, wow. First of all, thankfully NASCAR takes it seriously. They are just not brushing it under the rug. They are putting it out in the open and saying this act happened, and we are doing our best to make sure, one, this doesn't happen again, everyone feels included, and that we find the perpetrator or perpetrators that did this and get them out of the sport. We need to rid ourselves of the people that are bringing us down, that are not allowing change to be implemented, and really, instead of pushing forward, bringing us back. But here, a heinous act, we launch an immediate investigation. As stated unequivocally, there is no place for racism in NASCAR. So there was no doubt, no room for interpretation that this was anything but a hate crime. So this is NASCAR's wording. This is NASCAR's statement. I don't get the actual backlash towards Bubba Wallace himself, trying to say that he did this as a hoax. He did this and comparing him to Jussie Smollett. That's what I don't get. One, that's one of my questions, is why there's so much backlash toward him, because really, if anything, he wasn't really that involved. A crew member of his found it. NASCAR was the one that was alerted to it. They're the ones who put out this strong statement insinuating that this was a hate crime, nothing but a hate crime, and whoever we find, we're going to kick out of the sport. So I don't understand the backlash and the questioning towards him specifically. There's one question that I have that I still want answered. Another question is, are we still sure this wasn't a hate crime? To be completely honest, I'm not sold. I'm not calling the FBI liars or that they're trying to cover this up. Because what they were brought in to do and what they were told to investigate was this basically news put in there when everyone knew that Bubba Wallace is in this garage, right? So how it works is the garages are just assigned through your standings, and they're assigned the week of the race. So it's not like this was his garage every time he comes to Talladega. The garage was just number 4. That's his. It's just, assigned weekly. So the FBI was investigating, was this place there basically throughout the week, or was this been there before? And they came out and they investigated and concluded that it came out and was there back in October of 2019. But here's my question. Because they confirmed and said it multiple times, the knot in question was a noose. So there's no doubt of the tie, or there's no doubt of what the knot actually was. So they confirmed it was a noose. And the crew member who found the noose, before even going to NASCAR, before alerting anybody, checked the other garages, checked the rope ties on the garages, and made sure that, is this every tie like this? I'm not blowing something out of proportion. So he did his homework first to look around and say, hey, what's around me? What's here? Am I making a big deal about this? Am I missing something? Or is every garage tie or every other garage tie similar to this one? None of them, of all the other garages, had the same tie that was in the garage of Bubba Wallace. And even Bubba Wallace himself, when he was talking to ESPN on Wednesday, said in his 17 years of racing, he's never seen a garage tie like that before. Yet a NASCAR official talked to ESPN and said, quote, there are a lot of ways to tie a rope. This was unquestionably a noose. So why? End quote. So there's people, you have Bubba Wallace himself saying, I never, ever seen anything like this before in terms of a tie for a garage pull down. You have a NASCAR official himself saying there's a ton of ways to tie a rope. There's all these different knots you can use to really get the same effect, to have a garage tie, have a knot there to pull it down. But this is unquestionably noose. Why was this not chosen? Why was this not there? And my big question is, if this was really that uncommon, or if this tie was common, right? If this was something that's sure, maybe it's not, there every time you decide to tie a knot, this is the knot you choose. But wouldn't you think if someone at least seen this before in somewhere else, some other garage in another racetrack, and it just was innocently there as just a way to efficiently tie a knot, so that way, you can pull it down and shut the garage. Wouldn't you think someone in NASCAR, another driver, another pit crew member would have been like, hey, actually this is a legitimate way to tie something? No one said that. No one's come out and say, oh yeah, this is actually an efficient way to tie a knot. I understand the connotation that comes with the noose. I understand that it's, it's an awful, awful coincidence. This really was a coincidence. But this is legit. No one has said that. You would think, for people that have lived their lives in racing, that maybe if this was actually, some way to do it, someone would have come out and said, this is, maybe not common, but it happens. And if this was there, but the FBI said since October of 2019, how has no one else noticed it before, or even brought it up, or mentioned it, or put it out there in the open? So that's why I still have a ton of questions coming out of this investigation. Whether, again, is this truly, was this truly directed towards Bubba Wallace? Why is this not tied? So, like I said, I still have a lot more questions than I think I have answers coming out of it. I did feel a little almost hollow when I saw the FBI report say that it was, they didn't deem it a hate crime. Again, NASCAR is still continuing their investigation, so hopefully the perpetrator is found and we have some answers. But like I said, there's still a lot of questions I have out there that aren't answered that I think would be good to know, good to have answered one way or another. So like I said, we'll see what happens from this investigation. And again, hopefully all the facts, all the truth comes out. NASCAR seems, especially from their statement, again, they seem very motivated, very determined to get to the bottom of it, figure out who tied it, get their actual motivations as to why they tied this specific knot. Why was it tied only in this garage, no one else's garage? of all the ton of garages that are there at Talladega. Why no other knot was tied like this. So we'll just see what happens. But like I said, just coming out this weekend, there was a lot of good that came out of this weekend for NASCAR. Absolutely, the show of solidarity between the NASCAR, the sport, and Bubba Wallace and what he stands for, I thought was awesome, and a major step for them. It was great to see. But I'm not taking anything away from that at all. I think and what happened doesn't ring hollow or doesn't kind of lose its credibility because the FBI determined that it wasn't a hate crime. What we saw was real, what we saw was emotional, and I think it was massive for the sport overall and massive for change overall. But like I said, still have a lot of questions that hopefully will get answered one way or another. So we'll see what happens and comes out of NASCAR